right, guys, this is me again. This is Emmett Stallworth, the Alpha Builder. All right, guys, I'm gonna talk about, and I just made these things up probably about a minute ago. But this is another thing. I actually had this on my board to do, but these are things as a builder I had to stop doing. Builders, if you're gonna be a builder, you got to stop doing these things. All right, and now, the first one is going to sound kind of weird, guys, but it's something that I kind of grew up with. This is something that some kind of mindset that I had, and I kind of grew up with this right here. And I had to stop doing this, guys. I really had to stop doing it because it affects the way you think and the way you feel. Guys, I stopped watching sitcoms like Sanford and Son, Good Times. What's the other one? Like the Jefferson. And I know you guys are probably saying, "Man, that's crazy, man." You know, these were African American sitcoms that we used to watch, man. I used to love, and even still, man, I got this little Fire Stick or whatever you got, man, that you can go and you can look at everything, like all the movies and stuff and all the sitcoms from back in the day, and you can pull all that stuff up. And I can just sit there and watch it. But I used to love to watch these things, but I did not know. And I started feeling this. That stuff has a real major impact on the way you think. I did not know that until like now. And where it had the impact? The impact is that no matter what those guys did on those sitcoms, like Sanford and Son and Good Times and stuff, they seem to be trapped in poverty. They were just trapped, and I know what it was. It was just that you had to keep them in the hole because they had to keep making money to keep the series going. Now I know you guys are looking at me saying, "Man, you're crazy." No, but when you start putting that stuff in your head, it won't get out, because even as of today, guys, I can see things that are happening positive, and I say, "Man, I'm on the come up. I'm doing this right here. I'm making things happen, and I'm doing this right here, and I'm rising, and I'm sitting here expecting for things to fail." And by me expecting things to fail, you know what happens? It's so that as you thinketh, it shall be. But those sitcoms like that, watching those things all my life, have me thinking like that. Even when things are good and I'm trying to think positive, I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, what's fixing to go wrong now? Somebody gonna get hurt in my family or something, these things are really too good. What is gonna happen now? What's fixing to fail now? So I stopped watching these things, man. I stopped allowing that stuff to even get into my head. I just don't let it. I won't even watch it. Now, I think about it from time to time. Even right now, man, it's hard to break that stuff. I'm sitting here now, I'm doing things that I've never done before. But I'm sitting here thinking I'm doing it the right way, guys. When I first started building, I was just out here, man. I was just doing things. No one was really there. I had builders that helped me out for the most part, but I didn't really have that real solid connection where somebody could just really just take me and make sure I don't mess up. Now, it's a good thing I did mess up a few times, because that makes you stronger. That makes you figure out ways to, if you're solution driven, that makes you figure out ways to maneuver around things, and that helps. But I didn't have that, guys. I didn't have someone that could do that for me and drive me in the right way. So I had to learn the hard way. And like now, man, I'm just sitting around thinking that, so I learned the hard way then, and now I learned the right way to do things. And now I'm doing it the right way, which I think is the right way, because most people I talk to, I think I'm doing it consistent with what they're doing, that has proven that they're doing it right. Now that I'm doing it right, but I'm still expecting things to be wrong because of the mindset that I had growing up, guys. So I had to stop watching those things, man. I know that sounds petty. So that's one thing. I stopped watching negative sitcoms and stuff like that the people are always trapped in a hole. They can't ever get out. You're in the projects. You can't ever get out the projects. No matter how. So I stopped watching that stuff, man. I don't even want to let that stuff enter my mind. One thing as a builder, that's one thing. Number two, the next thing I stopped doing is, as I'm building, I used to have, like, if I got a project, I used to guess on things. I didn't really write things down. I just kind of guessed on it. Okay, well, if I spent this much on my foundation, I got about $2,000 left on this right here. And then, so that means I got $2,000 I can add on the framing part, where the framing went over about $5,000. Guys, I was guessing on that stuff and I wasn't keeping up with it. Yes. When I first started, man, I was guessing. I might have, at the bare minimum, I might have had an Excel spreadsheet. And I just kind of put numbers on there here and there, but I didn't do it every time. Like I didn't, it wasn't until I started getting in trouble that I started getting guys, I was getting to the point where I was almost about to finish a house, and I'm sitting here I'm looking for money. I got this house almost done, so now I'm trying to cut corners because I'm looking at what the bank had allocated. This is when I was doing a lot of spec home. I had to see what the bank had allocated, and then I had what I need to get finished, and it wasn't matching up, guys. And I was like, man, I need another $20,000 or $30,000 to get this thing done, and that's just done at the bare minimum. That's just. And guys, you don't want your houses. You don't want your houses, like, especially if you're doing a spec house. Guys, your spec house, you don't want that thing to look like that you just kind of hurried up at the end and just tried to push things together and you started trying to save money at the end, because that's what the people see. You don't want to cut corners at the end. That's when you want to spend the most money, because on a spec house, you got to get people got to come out there and look at it, and there has to be a pop and an owl factor on the front end. You know? So, but if you run out of money on the back end, it's gonna look like it, and the house is gonna look cheap. It's not gonna look like you're gonna overlook certain things because you're just trying to get it done so you can get the next draw. I know the game. You're just trying to get the next draw. Hopefully the bank didn't see this part right here. I'm just trying to get the next draw. You dealing with the subcontractor? I don't worry about that. Don't do that, man. This is how you get in trouble. And you can, same thing, when you're building custom homes, you don't want to be in those predicaments, man. You're not really keeping up with things. This is why I say the most important thing that you can have in your whole building platform is software. Octane. Software, guys. You know, I use Octane, software that I kind of had a input in how things kind of were put in there, because I know what a lot of builders are needing and stuff like that. But you better have something. You better have some kind of software. Just the Excel spreadsheet, you just keeping up with numbers and stuff. That's how you're gonna get in trouble. Unless you know how to really deal with algorithms, like, say, for instance, because I used to be a math teacher, guys, and that was my thing. I should be a mathematics person, did graduate school in mathematics, man. But my thing, you create algorithms and things like that. Unless you can do stuff like that, Excel spreadsheet, it's probably not a good idea. You got to have software that's tracking everything you do. And every transaction you make on that job site, whether you see, I wasn't keeping up with stuff like that. I was making trips to Home Depot and stuff like that, and that stuff wasn't being put in. I wasn't keeping up with that stuff like I'm doing now. You kill yourself with that, man. So you don't want to be around here guessing what you got while you're building a house. Well, I think I got this right here. And that's a common thing with especially the newer builders. That business, and this is the business side is the part that destroy you. You can't be sitting around saying, well, I think I got this much, man. I know I went over on the windows. Well, I went under on the windows, so I got about $2,000 here. and I can just take that $2,000 and put it over here, and this, that, and the other. That's a recipe for failure. You better have that software. Every transaction that happens, you better, especially in on a spec house, man. That's how you figure out what kind of profit you're gonna make. You got every interest payment that you make. You need to be able to see that, because if you get a person to come in and buy that house, if they buy that house, let's just say, for instance, you 3/4 of the way done with that house. How do you know what to charge if you haven't been tracking everything? You might mess around and charge, and that happened to me before, guys. You might mess around and charge this, and then you lose money at the end of the day. And once you determine what you're going to charge, you can't go back to that customer and say, well, you know, I thought I had this right here. Can you pay me this right here? Man, you can't do that stuff, man. Golly, you can't do that stuff. But people do that. You know, man, I thought I had, and because you're not keeping up with stuff. You got to track everything you do. And then you got to be able to project, which is one thing that our software does as well. But you got to be able to project what things are going to cost, what it's going to cost you, you know, especially if you 3/4 of the way done and somebody come in and buy that house, you got to know what it's going to cost to complete that thing. And then you can't just pick some big old number because you don't know. You're going to pick a real big number, you know, in that customer, because what's going to happen is that house, they're going to do an appraisal on that house before the banks, if they go to the lending institution, they're going to do an appraisal on that house. So if you pick some big number and you all out of range, well, you just messed up your appraisal. That appraisal, they're not going to get, it's not going to appraise. So don't do that, man. Don't be sitting around guessing at what things cost and guessing things. You better have a spreadsheet that's with software. All right, number 3, guys. Oh, well, number 3, this right here goes without saying, man. If you got 2 jobs going on, I've seen this happen too, man. Now, I've never done this one right here. This is one that I've always kept my thing separated. But guys, you got 2, 3 jobs going on. Do not pull for one job to handle another one. That is a no-no. Especially if you got custom jobs going on. Do not pull from your custom jobs to pay another custom job or whatever it is. Don't pull from them jobs. You got to keep them things separated. I got folders, guys. I got separate folders, guys. And they color coded, and they got different checkbooks. And the drawers that go, now it goes in the same place, but the drawers that goes in this one right here, this is all I got for this one right here. When I run out, I got to deal with it. Let each job stand on their own. Deal with it. You got to deal with it. And that's the thing. This job, you got to deal with the problem with that job. You can't just keep kicking the can down the street, pulling this from this job and borrowing from Peter to pay, just trying to keep this thing going, man, because eventually you're gonna have it's gonna be a train wreck. So don't pull from one job to pay the other job. So those are the 3 things, man. I stopped. Well, that one I never done. But those other 2, yeah, I stopped doing those. I stopped watching things, man. Guys, you got to control, number one, you got to control the things that enter into your mind in this game. You got to always be trying to think positive. That don't mean you just go out and just do anything. Then the next one will be, man, you don't want to be guessing on this stuff, man. You better have some kind of way you track. Everything needs to be tracked. Every penny. It's got to be tracked. And you need to go look at your bank account to make sure that the checks that clear are right. So if you wrote this check for $2,000, that sucker needs to clear for $2,000. Make sure that happens. Balance that thing out at the end of the day. And then, guys, don't borrow from Peter to pay Paul. Don't do that. Not especially on different jobs. Well, that's a no-no. Good Lord. Now, I would say if something needs to be paid, like if I'm doing a spec job, something needs to be paid, I take it from me. I take money, and then once the money gets there, I have the money to pay it some kind of way. this job sells and I make money off of it, I pay myself back. I do that. But I won't be doing that going across from job site to job site. So guys, let me know your thoughts. Let's comment, share this right here. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in.